republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You know, sir, that's the first time in 9 years I have done that.
Gentlemen,
Good job.
any additions or deletions to the agenda? I think we do have
Yeah,
one.
there's an addition. It'll be the,
Mr. Rudd.
yes, it'll be an agreement with the transit union for their contract.
It's a union contract agreement. We'll add that as item 3A under the action agenda without objection. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the last public business meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, starting off the evening, we have a Regulatory Reform Commission final recommendations. Director of Planning and Growth, Angela Patterson, and Committee Co-Chairman Matt Brewer. Hello.
Matt.
Good evening, Commissioners. I am excited to present to you this evening the final recommendations of the Regulatory Reform Commission. Why isn't it moving forward? Well. Okay, the commission was established last June of 2018 with a purpose to examine the policies and practices related to permits, planning, and land development. The commission was to undertake a comprehensive review of policies and procedures, identify areas that pose the greatest barriers and burdens to business growth, attraction, and retention, and formulate substantive solutions that would remove those barriers and burdens. The Regulatory Reform Commission members include Matt Brewer, co-chair, who is here with me this evening, Jeremy Irons, co-chair, Donnie Carter, Larry Wolf, who is here this evening, Steve Langen, Steve Jenkins, who is here this evening, and Danny Malamas. And it's been a real pleasure working with these guys. We held 3 meetings since last August. And the first 2 meetings, we very quickly identified the need for updated permitting processes and improved communication. We reviewed what some other jurisdictions were doing, and we quickly established kind of our overarching goals were to improve our web presence, improve our guidance resources, such as fact sheets and checklists and templates to get through permit review processes, and implement a web portal for permitting. During the 3rd meeting, we also had a discussion that revolved around each land use code, including subdivision, sediment control, stormwater, zoning, floodplain, and building construction. So basically just giving the commission the opportunity to talk about any specific regulations that they had problems with in those codes. I really wish this was working. Okay, so I'm going to go over the 12 recommendations now, kind of in consecutive order. The first recommendation is to capitalize on the role of business liaison. This is something that can be effective immediately because we really started this a few years ago with Jeff Barclay in our Economic and Community Development Department. He has assisted applicants in navigating some interagency permit processes for certain projects for a while now. And I think that my department is getting better at kind of recognizing which of those projects need that extra care. And so we will continue to improve that. The second recommendation is to engage our key partner agencies in the development of improved processes with a target effective date of July 2019. Really, this is already underway as well. We've had intensive conversations with the Health Department, the Allegany Soil Conservation District, State Highway Administration. These are our key partner agencies where we act as the clearinghouse and rely on them to provide their releases before we issue a permit. 2 examples so far of things that we've been able to implement just by meeting with them and brainstorming better processes. Last month, we implemented a permit release process based on email instead of paper. And it actually has already proven to make us much more efficient. Last month, we issued a residential construction permit within less than 2 weeks. And I don't think we were doing it quite that fast before, and that even included stormwater management requirements and legal agreements and things. And so because we have that quicker system in place, we're able to move more quickly. Another example is a blanket grading permit for utility maintenance projects that we're currently working on. Jim Squires developed an awesome blanket permit program that we're going to be able to implement soon, where we can get those types of projects in and out more quickly rather than reviewing a major plan every time. Our third recommendation is to launch a customer service survey. This will happen later this month. We intend to send it to permit applicants over the past few years, as well as current applicants over the next 6 months or a year, just to, again, gain more feedback. Our fourth recommendation is to improve communication of the permitting process and requirements. We have a lot of useful information on our website, but it's kind of difficult to navigate, and it really needs a facelift. You have to drill down real deep to find the things that you need. So we've been working on a project where we would implement a new URL within Allegany Gov called buildinallegany.org. And within that, we would have a residential section and a non-residential section, and because the processes look very different between those two things. And then within those two sections, we would have it by land use code. For instance, building construction review requirements would look very different if you were building a single-family dwelling versus a Walmart. So those types of things. And then having fact sheets and checklists and templates under each of those categories that would kind of guide people through that process. Our fifth recommendation is to recommend a web portal option for permitting. So right now, we're utilizing paper permit applications and a Microsoft Access database that was developed in 1995. We're hoping to be able to implement a web portal that would allow online applications and efficient tracking and reporting, and also transparency to the applicant so that they would be able to log on and see where their project was in the review process and who has signed off and who hasn't. We need to spend the next 6 months doing some homework to find a software that is going to meet all those needs that we will be able to afford. This is the only recommendation that involves a capital expenditure. Our sixth recommendation is simply to track progress by reconvening the commission next January, just to be able to review some of our survey feedback and the status of other items that we will be in the progress of implementing. The seventh recommendation is to engage our municipalities. Some of our smaller municipalities have adopted our codes by resolutions back in the mid-1980s. And so those things, it's just really time to circle back to them and maybe rethink those resolutions and how we can identify opportunities for consistency and maybe resource sharing where possible. And this is to just kind of meet the need of, I guess there was dissatisfaction with inconsistencies between county requirements versus municipality requirements. So just trying to find opportunities to make things consistent and simple. Our eighth recommendation is to evaluate, okay, so the remaining recommendations, or these next few, are related to the code reviews, where we specifically asked the commission to look at particular codes and talk about anything that has been problematic. So number 8 is to evaluate inconsistencies between building code exemptions and floodplain requirements. So with our new floodplain maps, we will also be doing a floodplain ordinance revision over the next year. We actually have convened a committee to help us navigate that, and we will be beginning to meet with them next month. We had a recent project in the floodplain that kind of had a hiccup related to an interior renovation, which we don't require a permit for here locally, but it had a substantial improvement aspect of the floodplain management ordinance. So it just kind of, it developed an inconsistency. And so we just want to take the opportunity as we're redoing this ordinance to evaluate any inconsistencies with that floodplain committee that's convening next month. Recommendation number 9 is to consider increasing the floodplain freeboard requirement to improve community resiliency. Again, this is related to the new maps and the ordinance revision. We may have the opportunity to improve our resiliency during a flooding condition and also lower our insurance premiums, but we need to evaluate the pros and cons of that. So that, we're going to take the opportunity with the floodplain committee to do that. Item number 10 is to address lot line adjustment process deficiencies. There was identified a need to consider whether we could implement a process that would keep the tax map more accurate and current as people make lot line adjustments with their properties. So we will evaluate that. Oh, I keep forgetting to talk about the target effective dates. The target effective date for that, for these last few, is further out, next March and then June. Item 11 is to evaluate and address development rights inequalities. This is with regard to minor subdivisions. So lots of record in Allegany County have 7 development rights. That means you can subdivide the property 7 times. Right now, that's kind of on a first come, first served basis. So if somebody owns 100 acres and 20 years ago they split it in half and sold half of it off, who gets the development rights? The first person, which one? So that was identified as something that could become problematic, and so we want to take an opportunity to review that and see if there's a way that we can address it. And the target effective date for that is next June of 2020. And finally, recommendation number 12 is to implement the web portal for the permitting. Remember, that was the one that needed the capital expenditure. So if the fiscal year 21 budget would allow, then I would hope we could implement it by December of 2020. The final report, I believe, was provided to you today, and we will be posting it on the website tomorrow morning. If anyone wants a copy of the report, they could also contact me, and unfortunately, I don't have my stuff. And lastly, I just want to thank you all for establishing this commission. It's been extremely helpful for me to get their input and their perspective and ideas. So I appreciate that. And I will invite Matt to come up and say a few words as well.
Thanks. Sure, I'll just be very brief. That was an excellent summary of the commission's work. I found my participation on the commission to be interesting and worthwhile for sure. We had a great cross-section of the business community and the general public. I think everyone was well represented. I think I would sort of summarize like this. All of the issues that we talked about and are identified in the report all sort of have a common theme, which is that they create uncertainty in the process for whatever reason. Misunderstanding of how the system works by the user, poor implementation of the guidelines by the regulatory folks, poorly written or conflicting or outdated regulations. All of those things create uncertainty, which ultimately equates to risk. Risk for developers, investors, lenders, contractors, builders, and risk is an impediment to economic development. And so I think we have crafted some achievable short and long-term goals, which should ultimately help streamline the permit and development process here in Allegany County and foster a more business-friendly environment, which is sort of the goal. So I'd also like to thank the commissioners for taking the initiative to proactively address these these issues and engage the community in helping craft solutions which would ultimately result in greater economic development here, which of course is beneficial to everyone. Thank you.
Absolutely. Matt, thank you, and the other 6 members of the committee for serving. Director Patterson, thank you all for your work on this. Obviously, I think some of these changes are needed to bring us into the 21st century. Moving to online instead of paper applications, in really figuring out where's the best place for us to spend our time and resources, and streamlining that process, both to help the county employees and to help the public at large. I think it's also important not only to implement these, but really look at what our goal is, what we're trying to achieve, and what areas we're regulating that, when I know the mayor got blasted for above ground swimming pools the other week. Is that something that should take 2 days and a permit to fill out? I don't know. Is that the role of county zoning? So those are the kind of things that I hope that we'll continue to look at and keep working on.
Fantastic, sir.
That's all.
Thank
Great.
you, Matt. Thank you, Angie.
Anything else? Okay, thank
Nothing
you.
to add. Thank you.
Okay. Next up, we have fiscal 2018. We have an audit update from Mr. Bennett. Our audit is still not submitted.
Huh?
And Commissioners, if you notice too, I'm afraid, Mr. Bennett, is this a typo in fiscal year 2018?
Unfortunately, it's not a typo. As you know, our fiscal year 2018, June 30, 2018 audit was due to the state December 31st of 2018. We're not done, as we mentioned, and really the reason we're not done at this point is because we're waiting on the Board of Ed's audit. So we just wanted to update you tonight as to where we stand. They are what's called a component unit, which 4 component units go into our audit. We have the other 3. We're waiting on that one. We can't finish our audit until we have theirs. So we'll give you I'll run down the list here of extensions we've done. We were due to the state December 31st. That's first and foremost. They stopped extending us in April. So they did 4 extensions, then they stopped. So we're technically out of compliance with the state. On the federal level, we have a single audit that we also do for federal funds. Their hard deadline was March 31st. So we missed that deadline. Excuse me. We've extended our bond disclosure twice at this point. We can keep extending it, but at some point the bond raters and also those who bought our bonds are going to wonder why we have draft financial statements posted. So that needs resolved. We also just found out at the end of June, as you know, we've come here many times. We've won the GFOA Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. Sorry for the mouthful. 25 straight years. We've now lost that. We won't get it again because we've missed the deadline. So things are starting to mount against us, and that's why I'm here just to update you as to where we're at. Really not a lot we can do about it. I am to the point, I want to recommend to you guys to at least consider maybe reaching out to the Board of Ed and potentially withholding some appropriation. We got to make it clear that this is important. It's the taxpayers' funds, and this is important. So that's certainly your decision, but we want to put it out there tonight and just let you know where we're at. We're already really into the audit season for fiscal 2019, so definitely not a typo. We're significantly behind. So we just wanted to leave it to you for discussion tonight.
Right. It is a very serious discussion and serious problem. I would hope that we wouldn't have to withhold funding, but that'll be a discussion that we'll have to have in the future. The thing that I don't think is getting enough attention is there is another one of these due September 30th.
Yeah. Yeah, so
To
their
us.
next one's due to us, actually October 1.
October 1st.
So that's sneaking up quickly.
Exactly. So I know that it seems like they've been behind for a long time or a few months behind, but Jason, is this the farthest that it's been?
In the 16 years I've been here, yes, this is the farthest. We've reached May before, but we've never reached into July. So they're 10 months behind at this point. I'm pretty sure the school board wouldn't be happy if their students were turning in their homework 10 months or a whole school year late. I would hope they'd set the same example.
Oh, great. That'll,
Larry, you have any projections on
That's what I was-
when this is going to be?
They're indicating that it's coming soon, but I unfortunately heard that a couple times over at this point. So I don't know. I don't have a hard date at this point.
great.
So
Well, that'll be a nice welcome for the new superintendent. They can get working on that.
I can tell you it's on the agenda for next Tuesday's meeting that just came out an hour ago.
Oh,
so
For us, for the board to
Okay.
approve the audit, it's on the agenda.
very good.
good,
Just tell you that.
good.
Thank
Well,
you.
that's welcome, very welcome news at this point. So
Wonderful. Tammy, one more by September 30th.
Let's get this one first.
I'll tell you that they're already working on the next one. I mean, I can't tell you that till they.
Wonderful.
very good.
Okay, very good. We're making progress.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tammy.
Okay. Item number 3 is a public hearing. This is Code Home Rule Bill 1-19. It's our Allegheny County Code, Chapter 360, Part 4 zoning text amendment packages. We've went over these before. Do you just want to give a broad overview or go through them again?
Yeah. It's a,
It's a hearing. If somebody wants to
You
talk,
have
let
gone
them
over
talk.
them before?
it was introduced at the last public meeting. So this would be, Commissioners, this would be a public hearing on the matter, should any public have any opinions or comments on, in regard to it.
Did you want to give another overview? Or
Well, I mean, this is the public hearing, and I hadn't gone over any details of it before, so
Yeah.
I was prepared to go over all of the details, but if you
Please.
don't want me to, I don't have to.
please go ahead and do that, and then if we have public comment, we'll take it then.
I will say that I have received 0 comments.
Okay.
Since it's been posted. It was, the public notice went out to, on June 25th and July 2nd, and it's been posted on the website since then, so we haven't received any comments. Do you want me to run through them real quickly?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So that is not, I just need to take that off because nothing that I
Not
prepared today
cooperating.
is working. Okay, so this zoning text amendment package was prepared to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of our permit review process. That's why we're doing it. We're trying to address errors and omissions that took place whenever we did a comprehensive revision in 2017 and trying to further improve user friendliness. There are 11 items. The first item is with regard to on-site and directional sign setbacks, reducing them from 50% of the distance of the other structures down to 10 feet, which is what the intent was. Item number 2, solar use on brownfield or surface mined land. It is currently, by error, prohibited in the industrial district, and that was not intended. So we're proposing it to be permitted by special exception in the industrial district. Item number 3, cell towers in the R2 residential district within LaVale. We are proposing to remove them because the R2 districts have been reduced down to true residential areas since we established conservation zones in LaVale. So we no longer need to have provision for cell towers in residential districts. Item number 4, it just relates to updating the index of arterial highways with regard to Nate's Crossroad, which is now designated as a minor arterial. Item 5 is with regard to off-street parking standards. This is kind of the most substantive change that I'm kind of excited about that improves user friendliness. So We currently have 5 categories of uses that you can determine your parking requirements from. And it causes a lot of time and effort on the part of the applicant and the part of the reviewer to try to figure out how these parking requirements should be calculated for specific uses. We have developed a user-friendly table where we have, I think, 26 non-residential uses now where you can go to and very quickly, you know that you're going to calculate it for a funeral home, or you're going to calculate it for an auto sales store, or, you know, those calculations are very different. And so it should improve our efficiency to be able to use those. Item number 6 is with regard to side and rear setbacks for commercial uses, just removing or adding back the flexibility that was inadvertently omitted in 2017 to reduce the setback based on your fire rating of your building construction. Item number 7, with regard to billboard side and rear setbacks being reduced from 30 feet back down to 15 feet. Item 8, with regard to screening buffers, we would like to apply that between some commercial and residential uses. A good example of where that would apply is the new Dollar General on 220 South, where you have a new commercial use right there where you have residences all around, and wanting to protect those residences by providing a visual screening. So that's where something like that would apply. Item number 9, neighborhood commercial definition. We're just refining that definition. It's pretty benign. Item number 10, auto part and repair shops in the residential 2 district. This was in error, and we're proposing to prohibit those in the R2 district. Item number 11, neighborhood commercial as a special exception in the R2 district. We just needed to clarify which neighborhood commercial uses would be allowed by special exception in the R2. And that's all of the items. So the Planning Commission made their recommendation for the full package on May 15th. And as I said, I have not received any comments since then.
Great. This is a public hearing. Is there any comments from the public on the zoning changes? Mr. Wilmot, please.
Is it number 7 on the setback for billboards? Why did you allow billboards to be closer to the road?
So the 2017 code introduced a 30-foot setback where it had kind of been silent before on billboards. And since then, we've had some recent applicants where that kind of was a burden to them or a barrier for them to be able to do their project. And so when we reevaluated that, we realized that, yep, that really didn't make sense. And so we're making it closer to the property line.
I think it should be set back about 100 feet. We got an ugly big billboard just put up on Willbrook Road. They dug out the hillside, which supports our street we have to use. We cut down over 200 trees for this huge ugly billboard.
Is that in city limits?
That's within the city limits.
Talk to the mayor.
He's right there.
I don't know anything about that one.
It goes out on 220. It goes about 30 acres of trees just to put up a billboard. Now, that don't make sense to me. We don't need billboards anymore. It's like this, we don't do paperwork anymore, we go online. And billboard, that billboard they put down on Willbrook and out on 220 bypass, it's absurd. We live in Allegany County, we need to dwell on our natural beauty, not commercialization with the ugly. Now, that one they put down up there in the city, it's only about 20 feet from the road. It distracts everything.
We considered some of those things, but we don't get a lot of billboard applications, and so
Well, I think
we didn't
should
see it as a
outlaw.
problem.
We shouldn't have billboards at all.
Well,
They're ugly. They do nothing to promote the natural beauty. in Allegheny County or state of Maryland.
Great. Those-
I used to go down to John Hopkins and going in through Baltimore. It's ridiculous, the signs that they got.
Lots of
It
billboards.
makes it- Baltimore looks so ugly, it's unbelievable. And I think it's the same here in Allegheny County. Thank you.
Thank you. Noted. So, Commissioners, I think all of these changes make sense. I think they all confide to the code. We've had discussions about this, and at least the three of us, and our general outlook is you should be able to do what you want with your property with as little limitations as possible. And I think this code kind of goes along that way. And so these changes are pretty much a cleanup, and hopefully moving forward with the Regulatory Reform Committee, we'll have some other changes that'll be coming here in the next few months. And I think the key about working with other municipalities is important, trying to get some sort of continuality, and you would know exactly what you're doing, whether you're in Cumberland or the county, and trying to get those to conform is important.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay. This is a public hearing.
You can also vote.
We could take action tonight. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Very much.
Thanks, Angie.
Okay. Item number 3A is our Allegheny County Transit Union Contract Agreement. Mr. Rudd?
Yes, pleased to be able to produce and present to you today a completed, negotiated, voted upon labor management agreement between local number 1633 of AFSCME, the Transit, Allegheny County Transit. We have representatives prepared to sign. If the commissioners are prepared to vote and approve it, we'll sign it today.
Wonderful.
Just for the record, this is a contract which will be effective July 1st of 2019 through June 30th of 2021. The major issue or component in this is there is a 2% raise for both this year and next year. It's a 2-year contract.
Great. Thank you all on our side and on the union side for a quick negotiation, getting everything resolved, and I think everyone's mostly happy. Great.
Have them down front.
Absolutely.
But you need to vote.
Make a motion that we approve and sign.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Great. Come on up.
Carol and Jack.
Carol and Jack.
You better show them your side. Leave that to you.
We were going to bring one pen at a time. The goal.
While they're signing, let me just add, this was a very congenial, pleasurable negotiations. I think it took, what, two sessions to get this done, basically?
Yes, sir.
And that's kind of unprecedented, so thank you to all the people in both bargaining teams. Jack?
We have the leak.
We do.
I think we gotta have somebody, you get some other people to sign on here? Yeah, well, they'll give you one. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, continuing on our action agenda, item number 4 and 5 are the Vesta Next Gen 911 call routing, call handling solutions. Mr. James Piles.
Good evening, Commissioners, Mr. Butler, Mr. Rudd. April 30th, 2019, Governor Hogan signed Senate Bill 339, House Bill 397. It's legislation around NG 911. This legislation was led by the Maryland Association of Counties. This legislation provided many things to include but not limited to, and by the way, it's commonly referred to as the Carl Hens Law. And this legislation includes enhancement in technology. It includes a 911, NG 911 mandate. The enhancement in technology is you can now send videos through 911. You can text through video through 911. You can share videos through 911. It increases our cybersecurity by moving to the mandate, the NG 911 mandate. And also, it enhances our first responders, locating an individual that has dialed 911 on their cell phone, and it enhances how quickly our first responders can find this individual, with over probably 70% of all 911 calls being made from a cell phone. Carl Hand's Law also, it conforms Maryland's with other states as far as fees and regulations on enhancements to us, Allegheny County, and all across the state, to fund the current 911 system and to fund the, as we transition into NG 911. I'm here before you today on items 4 and 5 on a public safety issue, safety and security for the citizens of Allegheny County. Commissioners, just last week, our 911 dispatchers in 1 week in Allegheny County handled 1,395 911 calls. What I'm about to talk about will enhance the performance of our 911 system. Item 4, where are we? Item 4, we're currently using Verizon. Verizon is an old system, an antiquated system. Verizon is getting out of the NG 911 business. We have 2 options, AT&T or Motorola. AT&T, if we go to them, it's increased cost, it's increased time when we get our project done with the state mandate. Motorola, it's instant connectivity, compatibility. It's one technician that's handling our problems from our radio console to our solutions. Any radio issues we have, it's a cheaper, lower cost by going to Motorola. Item 5. Where are we? Currently, we are using Motorola for our hardware and software at our 911 system. And both items 4 and items 5 are relating to our 911 systems. So item 5, where are we? Currently, we're using Motorola Vesta 6.0. That was last upgraded in 2014. Vesta 6.0 is no longer compatible with the mandated NG 911. Therefore, we are asking for your approval and support to move to Vesta 7.2 that will be compatible with the NG 911. The money you see before you on items 4 and items 5, you see $92,506. Item 4 and item 5, you see $1,288,888. How did we come about that money? Roger Bennett, Deputy Director of Emergency Services, testified for over 1 hour in front of the Numbers Board. The Numbers Board is the body that issues and awards us the money before you today. He testified over 1 hour in front of 16 committee members on our intent, with your approval, to roll out our Motorola NG 911 and move toward Vesta 7.2. Commissioners, with that said, we're asking for approval and support on items 4 and items 5.
Great. Mr. Pies, you had mentioned that AT&T also provides this.
Correct.
Did we figure out the cost, or did they put in a proposal to do the same thing, or was it just Motorola that we
It's just Motorola because Allegheny County, we're currently invested heavy in Motorola. We have the Vesta 6.0 program, so that would mean that we would have AT&T providing our NG 911 service. We would have Motorola be invested heavy providing our Vesta 6.0 or Vesta 7.2 service. So if we have technical problems and I have AT&T and I have Motorola saying, it's you, where Motorola, in my opinion, is a smooth transition since we're already invested heavy with Motorola in the 6.0 Vesta.
But currently we have Verizon and Motorola.
Currently, Verizon is getting out of the business. It's
Right.
an old system. Currently, we have operating costs for Verizon. Those operating costs that we're currently paying in Allegheny County will move toward the NG 911 system.
Sure. Okay.
So the way I'm reading this, Jim, looks like we're getting about almost $1.4 million worth of equipment and upgrades here, actually no cost to us, or?
Correct.
Very good.
Yeah. It's it'll be about 1.4 million additional taxpayer money that'll be going to it. I'm not going to stand in the way of this evening, But we just spent about $7.8 million in radios with Motorola. We sat here last March and were surprised with another $450,000 that we had to pay to connect those radios that was not included in any contract. So I'm not going to be involved in this vote tonight. I don't think that just because we went down a path and now we're stuck on that path and there can't be any changes to it, there's other options that should be looked at. And this is something that we need to look very closely at the quality and the service moving forward. So is there a motion for item number 4?
There is, so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll vote present. Is there a motion on item number 5?
There is, so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll vote present.
Thank you,
Okay,
Commissioners.
thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Item number 6, we have Allegheny County Community Enhancement Program. This is for 7 properties, 600 block of Maryland Avenue, known as Rolling Mill. Mr. Nedved.
Hello, Commissioners. The Cumberland Mayor and City Council respectfully requested consideration of funding from the Allegheny County Community Enhancement Program to be used for the environmental abatement and demolition of 7 properties, 3 of which are duplexes, in the 600 block of Maryland Avenue. Once the demolition work is done, the City of Cumberland has been working with the Cumberland Housing Alliance to plan for the residential redevelopment of this site. I'll point out 2 things. We are not we are not acquiring. The city has already acquired the properties, and this is not the shopping district area that is widely discussed. It's actually kitty corner from that. It's from William Street basically to Spring Street. It includes pretty much everything to the, what do you call that? What would that be, the north side of the street? But anyhow, the up side of the street. Pretty much everything on that block, on that side of the street, except maybe 1 triplex at the end of the block. I come before you as per the guidelines of the program. We have to run any application through a public meeting. So I've come before you asking for approval on the application. Oh, and the application, sorry, they're requesting $145,850, again, for environmental abatement and demolition of 7 properties.
Great, thank you, Mr. Nedved.
Thank you.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you.
Good to see that fund get used.
That fund is being used very well.
Subdivision Mary.
Okay, item number 7 is Tanya Gomer, and it's Georges Creek Watershed Stream Bank Restoration and Stabilization at Brody Road.
Good evening, Commissioners. This is,
Thanks.
Crazy neighborhood.
yes, this is a stream bank restoration and stabilization project. Dan DeWitt was the engineer on this project, and we're coming before you to ask for permission to accept $500,000 in funding coming from the Chesapeake Bay Coastal Watershed.
This is a pot of money we've used several times in the past as of late. Dewitt's Creek Stream Restoration, currently being used for Georges Creek Shaft Stream Restoration Project. Tanya did a great job applying for the money on short notice. This is in response to some of the flooding events we had last year. We have a number of areas like this throughout the county. This one jumped into special consideration. It's threatening a home, 2 sheds, a county road, some utility lines, as well as Georges Creek Elementary School. So it's pretty imperative that we make some inroads on this very soon. We have a good relationship with the folks at DNR, and they agreed with us that this merited some special consideration. We'll be working on permitting and getting a project together and hopefully getting under construction as soon as possible. This is good money for us to use. It doesn't require any cash outlay from the county. It just involves some staff time. for permitting and construction management, which is about as good as we're going to get for solving an issue like this.
Commissioner, is that where you live?
Sir, and just for transparency, I do not live on that road, so.
That's right. Okay. Is there a motion to accept the $500,000 grant award?
So moved.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
There we go.
Thank you. New headline on WCBC.
That's right. Brody gets new stabilization. All right. Item number 8 is architectural and engineering services for WCI North Branch training at ACM. Mr. Dan DeWitt.
Commissioners, this project's been around for a while. Recently, it bid, and then after the bid, the needs of the project changed, and it is now under need to have a new design for some identified changes in what they're trying to get out of the building out at ACM. So this item on the agenda is for an approval for 3 firms there, Cheney Architects, East Hills Engineering, and Matonic Snyder Associates in Hagerstown to complete the necessary design and engineering to move forward to complete the design so it may be advertised for bids in the future.
Great. Any discussion?
No, sir.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
Item number 9 is electrical services upgrades to 37 Lane Avenue. Mr. Butler.
Commissioners, if I may, let's take items 9 and 10 together.
All right.
Just so that, for the sake of time.
And item number 10 is building renovations to 37 Lane Avenue.
Yeah. So Commissioners, item 9 is to authorize Potomac Edison the right-of-way and electrical service agreements for the installation of new service line and a transformer for the building at Lane Avenue, also known as Western Maryland Works. That is the Makerspace project with ACM. Item 10 is actually the building renovations for that. And Commissioners, taking a warehouse and turning it into a workforce development asset in this community, the largest workforce development asset. So item number 10, I'm asking for your consideration of awarding a bid, awarding the contract to Belt Construction. Belt was the only bidder in this contract for this, and we look forward to working with them in order to get this up and running quickly. We have a 100-day window here for them, and so they have some busy work to do.
Great. Is there any discussion?
Oh, fantastic. Let's get this thing going.
Great. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Great. Moving to our consent agenda, our voluminous consent agenda tonight. Mr. Butler.
See, I was trying to take some time off. So item number 11 is the Western Maryland Health System Service Agreements. Item number 12 are various agreements for a pilot program pilot agreements, payment in lieu of taxes for the Cumberland Housing Group. Item number 13 is a request for tax abatement. Item number 14 is the Rail and River and Rails Festival. That is a $500 budgeted out of the community promotions account. Item number 15 is a letter of authorization for the Polish Mountain Hill Climb. Item number 16 is a travel request for myself to attend a autonomous vehicle symposium, actually Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. Item number 17 is the September 11th National Memorial Trail MOU. Item number 18 is declaration of surplus vehicles. Item number 19 is the Hartford Workers' Comp for contract renewal. Item number 20 is a property and liability insurance renewal. And item number 21 is a community enhancement expenditure to the town of Luke for needed emergency upgrades.
Great. What's the VIN number on that surplus vehicle?
I will not make that mistake again.
Dan DeWitt is going to put a blank check in on it.
Actually, yes.
Oh, are you going to purchase it, Mr. DeWitt?
I don't want to talk about all that.
You don't want to see it? All right, we got a 01 Jeep that's for purchase to the highest bidder. Okay. I'll make the motion. We accept the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second, sir.
All in favor?
Aye.
Red.
Great. Yes, cherry red. Mr. Rudd.
I have nothing.
Mr. Butler.
Commissioners, there's been a lot of talk about economic development in social media over the last few days in media. Gentlemen, you have taken a number of important steps this evening to increase economic development in this community. I want to say thank you from the top of the agenda with the Regulatory Reform Commission all the way down to the last items there on the consent agenda. The hardest job in rural county government is that of economic development. Allegheny County is not special or unique in this regard because, quite frankly, one, businesses aren't banging down our doors. We have to find them. We have to do it, and that takes guts and creativity. As a matter of fact, recently we were on a conference call with a multinational firm. That happened because of an article that was actually sent to me, and I forwarded it on to the CDC guys. And 2 days later, we were on a conference call with a multinational firm pitching Allegheny County. It takes multiple efforts and time to close or even come close to landing someone. Jeff Barclay and his team, and by team, Matt and Paul from the CEDC, Andrew Sargent, have been doing just that, particularly in Mr. Barclay's absence. But, even in Mr. Barclay's absence, the relationships between the city and the county have been even stronger. And that's important to note because a year and a half ago, the conversation was all about how the city and county couldn't get along. Everybody also thinks that they're an economic development expert, and they have a Facebook account to prove it. And when they tell all their followers that, I can do better, we can just call up Amazon, or the commissioners just need to demand that businesses come into the area. Yeah. Social media is great to get the message out, but it's also a breeding ground of negativity, and boy, there's some negative people out there. Successes are never celebrated because sometimes everyone else pushes you out of the way for the ribbon cutting, and bit players sometimes are the first to take credit. Conversely, failures that occur are often at no fault of anyone, but circumstances or sometimes an individual's lack of funding. Splashed across the pages of media, fingers are pointed, blames are placed, and again, armchair economic development experts. We have a number of opportunities that are being worked by our team right now. Some of them will pan out, some of them sadly won't. Some of them we are required to sign non-disclosure agreements that legally prohibit people from disclosing. There are international and national firms that are looking at this community as we speak. They're finance, tech companies, they're bioscience folks. They're looking here now, and they're looking to line up their financing. As a matter of fact, we also have operations that are likely to employ 100 people that are awaiting the fate with state regulators right now to obtain precious licenses that are few and have many takers. There are site selectors right now that are looking at our community. Why can't we share? Because if things don't pan out, it plays into the narrative of we can't get anything here. Speaking of that narrative, what are our companies saying on the pages of our media, pages of our hearing on our radio? Are they hearing that we're celebrating the successes of Cumberland, Frostburg, Allegheny County? Unfortunately, sometimes whenever you go on the pages, particularly of social media, you hear the phrases, my kid has to go elsewhere in order to get a good paying job. I can't wait to leave here. There's nothing here. There's nothing to do. Gentlemen, all these lines are false. But we bought into that false narrative as a community, hook, line, and sinker. Gentlemen, tonight you have approved an award of contract for renovations of a maker space so that citizens of this county can be trained in the latest technology by companies that are in this community. You have, that will also be a solution for a robotics team that's been shuttled from one building to another. In that space, people are looking to build their own businesses, to look for training of a new skill. And the county's youth are looking to dream and innovate. They can all do that in one place. And you commissioners are taking that leadership role tonight. Speaking of youth, commissioners, you also approved, you are one of 3 counties that are in Western Maryland that approved a youth apprenticeship initiative, and commissioners, you took the act right off the bat to say it starts with Allegheny County. And we have applications already of students, high school students, that look to start their career here with Allegheny County government. It's because of your work, commissioners. You approved travel for going to an autonomous vehicle conference, hopefully to draw back some businesses there. That project, if all goes well, may be before the governor for funding for design and construction as early as FY 2021, which is just around the corner. That project would not have happened had it not been for our relationship with this administration, specifically with Bill Atkinson from the Maryland Department of Planning. You approved an MOU tonight for the county's portion of the Great Allegany Passage to become a part of the September 11th Memorial Trail, so that even more people will come through Allegany to stay in our hotels, to walk our streets, to eat in our restaurants, to fall in love with our community, and to come back, maybe even permanently. Yet there are armchair quarterbacks, and they can't see from outside of the screens of their own devices or their narrow focus on themselves in order to see the good that is here. So for all those that want to engage in economic development, luckily it's a team sport. First task, start sharing positive things about the community and in the community. Because whether people know it or not, companies and people are listening. They're listening. With every negative comment, we lessen the chances to land our next job creator. Sorry for taking a little more of time, but that one was on me for a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Butler, you've been here 16 months. Welcome to the club.
And
It's
just
initiation.
remember, as the people say that stuff, it's easier to sit back and ride something backwards than it is to stand up and push it forward. So, that's, everyone's got these ideas, and they'll this and that and tell you what you should be doing, but you see very, very few people step up and actually do it.
That's exactly right. Everyone has an opinion, and they think they can do things until the rubber meets the road, and they have no interest in being involved or doing anything. So, Mayor, thank you for coming this evening. I will say that our relationship with the City of Cumberland has never been stronger. We're working more closely together with their economic development entity than ever before, certainly in my time. I would assume even before that. And we're going to continue to find ways that we can work together and cut costs for everyone involved, because I think there is some opportunity for that. Okay. Commissioner Caparelli.
Thank you for your comments tonight, Mr. Butler. Onward and upward, as always. Absolutely.
Commissioner Brody.
Sir, yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Mayor. Tammy Fraley, thank you very much for attending. The big announcement is the fair starts.
Okay.
It's time for a little bit of fun in Allegany County. So on behalf of the three of us, please, everybody come out and enjoy the fair and bring your family and have a good time.
Absolutely.
I'll buy the first sausage sandwich. How's that? Oh, you're on a diet.
I can eat that.
You're going to throw the first ball for today.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
You want to announce that?
The dunking booth.
Mr. President?
Yeah, sure. You can dunk Mayor Morris tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. Make sure you show up then, and you'll miss all the festivities. I'm just scared they're going to hold me under the water, So
1812 Brewery.
1812 Brewery.
It will be dunked?
Yeah, I'll be in a dunking booth about 5:30, benefiting childhood cancer. So I'm happy to do it, and the mayor's doing it, and it's going to be a great time out there tomorrow night. Lieutenant Governor Rutherford was up here today, bringing greetings from the Hogan administration. Really, today was focused on Cumberland priorities, CEDC priorities, downtown Cumberland, and they think that they're going to have the funding together to begin that project next July. So it's a long time coming, and obviously that would be a nice boost to downtown, along with the boutique hotel they're working for, and the Rolling Mill project. They're trying to get that across the finish line. Also this week we had Secretary Schultz, Secretary Hadaway, DNR Secretary were up, and we get that attention from the Hogan administration. It's certainly a nice change of pace compared to what the previous governor did. So they're continuing ways to work with us, and they're really receptive to our ideas and our asks of them. So with that, we did have a big meeting tonight. Thank you all for everyone, for all the work that was involved. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, and I'd like to just thank the county staff for that. With that, our next public business meeting will be Thursday, July 25th, 5 p.m. There's no one signed up to speak tonight, so have a good weekend.
There we go.